Neville Goddard, The Power of Unlimited Imagination. Chapter 14, The Wine of Eternity. The human imagination and divine imagination are one and the same. They are not two. I mean, right off the bat, we really do need to show what that looks like. I am all that is God right here. Here's our self-concepts. The human imagination and divine imagination are one and the same because I and my Father are one. My Father is greater than I. The human imagination, your objective reality, your self-concept imagination, and the divine imagination are one and the same. They are not two. Your human imagination has the power to turn your water of life into the wine of eternity. Oh, it sounds so poetic, and it's so true. Because all you have to do to turn that water into wine is make a subconscious impression by the feeling of it. Just by feeling what it feels like for it to be natural to you to be walking in that house. What it feels like to you to be walking in that house with your new spouse. Does that feel natural to you? That's turning water into wine. This you will do when you release your imagination from its bonds of limitation. For when imagination is truly free, it can accomplish miracles. You're releasing it from its bonds because here, subjectively, this is an objective reality, but it's your subjective experience. I know the words kind of overlap each other. This is an objectified reality. When you're here and you're trying to make the impression into your sleeping state, and you're imagining here, you're looking there and you're trying to capture the feeling and then bring it to where you are. Even though you're ignoring these senses, you're still here going to sleep. But as you fall to sleep, it doesn't change the fact. It's a fact because you're making it real. It doesn't change the fact that you can imagine sleeping there. I slept in a different house last night. And then this morning I was talking with a work associate, a business associate, and we were talking about another place that's ideal. And I says, I'm going to go ahead and start sleeping there tonight. And he is too. And that means when you go fall asleep, you're in a new locale, like Neville says over and over. But then you see the other place your body is so many miles north, south, or east or west. If you're Neville and you're sleeping in Barbados, like Abdullah told you, you've gone to Barbados, then Neville went to sleep in Barbados with imagining that New York was 3,000 miles to the north. Getting that feeling and feeling it as natural. The Bible calls imagination man's savior and identifies this wonderful benefactor as Christ. Such a relief. Just to come into the knowledge of this material. Just the knowledge of it is enough to you just have a good day now. Every day's a good day now. You know this exists. You know other people are using it to their benefit. You know that, and you can smell that, and you can taste it. And you're still at the precipice yourself. You've got to persist. Don't forget, how long did it take you? Don't worry, I'm in the same camp. How long did it take you to get there? It isn't like I learned it overnight or instantly did it, but again, I've been at this for quite a few decades. And it's not sometimes for people like me, I can only talk about myself, not easy. The beginning part was the difficult part. So I've had to turn around my ship to get it to go to a different port. We must laugh at the comedy of our trials and tribulations. If we don't, the opposite's no fun. It took you some time to get here. You have some habits. You have some blocks. All those are all weaved in and out of your psychology in a now. And in that now, you've got to turn that ship around. But realize that you're here because you got there at least. So now it's just a matter of a psychological adjustment, taking that objectified reality you want to experience and going to sleep with it on your mind and in your feelings here, the impression's made. The rest is history. And it's like you found the treasure, the treasure that had an inexhaustible supply to it. Inexhaustible. Love, health, wealth. When Christ is awakened and born in you, your human imagination becomes divine vision. Called Christ, your individual imagination is the mediator between the Father of all life and the external world called man. Having imagined wealth, it is the human imagination who walks on the water of life and denies the evidence of his senses by claiming, I am wealthy. His persistence mediates God to man. The mediation was from God to man. There's God and there's you, man. You're now the mediator. You say, I am wealthy. You're mediating God to man. Every character in Scripture lives in the mind. Your mind. Don't be confused about that one bit. It's all you pushed out. That story is a story of the inside. Here, that story is not a story of the outside, what we consider the world right here. Every character in Scripture lives in the mind. When you read the Bible, turn to self and ask, what state would I be in if I were doing this? When reading the story of Moses, claim that you are he. Assume the state of faith when you read of Abraham. You are Joseph the dreamer and Thomas the doubter. And you are destined to be, wait for it, Jesus Christ, the awakened, risen imagination. All that's rising is within you, called imagination, also called Jesus Christ. You're going to wake up and remember that you are him, and that is the Son, the hope of glory, Jesus Christ, awakening with you. You're the vehicle. The second coming is you. That's a lot to celebrate right there. That's just the mental knowledge of that. Just the knowledge, not even the emotional feeling of it. Not even the visceral impact of it. Not even the warm, oh my gosh, I'm in love with everything now feeling. It's the knowledge alone is enough to just, it really is reason to celebrate, because what that means is you can now, the slate is clean. Remember Cowboys and Aliens, the movie, where the preacher said to the cowboy known as James Bond, I forget, Daniel Craig's character, the preacher man, I forget his name, great actor. He's saying to the Daniel Craig character, remember, God doesn't care who you were. He only cares who you are. Let that sink in. Then what was just said, let it sink in that the hope of glory, the awakening of him within you, he only cares where you are. It doesn't matter where you've been or what you've been. That stuff is over. It's quite a feeling. Skin is the most external thing a man can wear. When you read of one who wears camel's hair or leather, you are reading of one whose mind is tied to the outside. His philosophy of life is external and dependent entirely on others. In the 5th chapter of Mark, the story is told of an innocent man who, being unclothed, lived among the dead and cut himself on the stones. When awakened imagination passed by, the innocent one cried out, "Do not cast me out." And when asked his name, he answered, "My name is Legion, for we are many." A being not let a being not yet individualized in a spiritual sense is innocent, for he knows not what he is doing. Oh, 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 is that the truth? Not yet individualized in a spiritual sense. If you are awakening and realizing that I am him, you are you are individualized in a spiritual sense. You are there. So, you do know what you're doing. This changes the game entirely. You will magnetize to the golden rule like no other. You will realize the power of what that means. You will realize that that is the only rule that you must abide. Period. He is legion because he has innumerable is in him. For example, I am ill. I am poor. I am tired. I am weak. And I am mistreated, to name a few. Living among the dead and sleeping the sleep of death, his literal understanding of life and its cause are stones that cut and bruise. But the spiritual man, the man who understands this, has a personal self-determined history, a predetermined self. In the realm of the spirit, he becomes what he wills. When consciousness turns within, the spirit awakens to his true identity. Then, casting out all belief in an external cause, he is clothed in his right mind and sits at the foot of the one who casts them out. A miracle is only the name given by those who have no faith in the works of faith. The story is told of a man named Jairus, whose daughter was believed to be dead. But awakened imagination ignored the thought and said, "Do not fear, only believe." Arriving at the house, he questioned, "Why do you weep? The child is not dead, but sleeping." Then he touched the child and said, "I say to you, rise." Immediately she got up and walked. Then Jesus turned to the parents and said, "Give her something to eat." Every state, every desire, every idea is your child. Looking at the desire, it appears to be dead to you, the natural man. But your spiritual eye knows the desire is not dead, but sleeping, waiting to be touched for its resurrection. With your desire, your child, with your desire made alive within you through the power of touch, it must be fed in order to bring about its birth. Give him something to eat. Fall asleep in the feeling. This is done by turning your attention to it. Putting your attention on your objective. Putting your attention, putting your feeling, falling asleep to it. Putting those blinders on, cutting out all that noise. Let us turn to the 5th chapter of the book of John, in which he speaks of the pool of Bethesda and its 5 porches. The story is told of a sick man who waits for the moving of the water by an angel, believing that whoever steps into the pool first after the movement will be healed. After asking him if he wanted to be healed, awakened imagination said, "Rise, take up your pallet and walk." All at once, the man was healed, and taking up his pallet, he walked away. The word Bethesda means house of mercy, and the pool spoken of here is consciousness, which must be stirred by an angel, in parentheses, a messenger of God. Any idea you entertain is that angel, disturbing your consciousness. Any idea you entertain is that angel disturbing your consciousness, which is your still pool. The pool is entered by a mere assumption, and stirred as you bathe in it. I am is always first person, present tense. No one can put you in the pool by affirmation. No one can put you in the pool by affirmation. Although seemingly impotent, you rest on the 5 porches or senses when you accept their evidence and refuse to change your consciousness. No one needs help you. Who could be first in the pool other than self, which is your I? Knowing what you want, rise in the assumption that your desire is already satisfied, and it will be satisfied, in parentheses, healed. Knowing what you want, rise in the assumption that your desire is already satisfied, and it will be. In his 7th chapter, John rejoices, saying, I have finished the work thou gavest me to do. Father, glorify thou me in thine own self with the glory which I had with thee before the world was. I have kept them in thy name which thou hast given me, and none is lost but the son of perdition. For their sake I consecrate myself, that they also may be consecrated in the truth. For I dwell in them, and they dwell in me, and we are one. Oh my goodness. The work you gave yourself to do is to awaken from this dream of life. This is the dream. Your self-concept is the dream. When you start to wake up in your dreams, and I promise you, you can easily do it. I don't doubt it for a second. And you can start remembering, because you're doing it already. You already dream every night. Anybody who claims that they'd never dream, they're not just lying, they just don't choose to remember, because you do dream every night. I still am fascinated by each and every one of us human beings, and almost every mammal. Even sharks sleep. They don't breathe oxygen. How many creatures in the world, in our reality, actually sleep? And what's going on when you sleep? I'm always fascinated with that question, because everybody dreams, and I learned that very well from Seth. There is no not dreaming. We all dream, period. The work you gave yourself to do is awaken from this dream of life. This is your waking dream. When you're in your dream tonight, this will appear to be the dream you were in while you are awake there, while you are awake there. You'll frolic and you'll create and you'll do and you'll experience, and all these wonderful, crazy, wonderful things will happen from the perspective of this dream. Everything there will seem insane, but while you're there, this seems completely crazy. But when you wake up here from that dream tonight, you're going to be like, whoa, that was a crazy dream. Because there seems like the dream now that your consciousness is focused here. It's all about where you're focusing your consciousness. You are in a dream. Row, row, row your boat merrily, merrily. I forget. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 merrily. Life is but a dream. Yes, we've met under dreaming circumstances here. Having assumed the limitations of the flesh, you will awaken to your true identity and become your own glory when the outer you is made passive and the inner you dynamic. That's when the dynamics of that inner you, your subconscious self, will start to blossom, and you'll get this consciously. Then you'll start to see these things just start to go off like fireworks. They'll just pop off. You'll just imagine that parking space, and it pops off. You'll imagine that meal coming that they accidentally serve you at the restaurant when you forgot to order what you wanted to order, but you ordered something else, but you actually wanted this, and they accidentally bring you that. It just pops off. That's when you awaken to your true identity and become your own glory. When the outer you is made passive and the inner you dynamic. That's when you see your creations come alive consciously. You see them, you think them, you see them. You consciously think them, feel them, you see them. while driving, while walking, while talking. You will get this down. You will consciously co-create with the rest of those who are already doing it. Consciously. Don't get me wrong. Everybody's doing it. Number one, there's a large percentage doing it unconsciously. Like he just said, forgive them for they know not what they do. They are innocent. They literally are innocent. Number one, everybody's doing it, creating their own reality. Number two, a large percentage are unconsciously creating their own reality, but they're doing it. They're the innocents. Number three, those of us like Neo who choose to wake up. I'm not going to hold up my middle finger. that choose to wake up from the illusion as assigned. Wake up from the dream as assigned and realize we are him. And then consciously co-create with all of our other co-creative wonders. Now, the son of perdition is the belief in loss. Knowing that all things exist in the human imagination, nothing can be lost. When you realize this truth, you will no longer believe in loss, thereby fulfilling Scripture. The most difficult thing to grasp is that there is no one outside of self. I promise you that's very wonderful. It's just he's really shifting gears, and I love it because this gets into the place I love to dwell. It is the most difficult thing to grasp because everything as you pushed out is back to the fingers, right? You're pointing one finger and three are pointing back at you, and that's the reminder. You have it physically attached to your body. You can't deny that. There's no denying where you're pointing is literally where it's pointing at you, the creator of that, which you point at. The most difficult thing to grasp is that there is no one outside of self. Believing others needed to change, I worked on them, thinking that the world would be so much better if they would be different. Then I awoke and sanctified myself. And in so doing, they were sanctified. For I dwell in them, and they dwell in me, and we are one. There is no one to change but self. What do you think Job was doing? As you control your thoughts and allow only those that conform to your ideal to flow from you, if you control your thoughts and allow those thoughts that conform to your ideal, remember golden rule, imagining living of others, you and your world will reshape itself in harmony with them. Let me repeat the sentence. As you control your thoughts and allow only those that conform to your ideal to flow from you, your world will reshape itself in harmony with them. Remember, you cannot be aware of a fault or greatness in another were that fault or greatness not present in you. It makes so much sense to only imagine lovingly. If you have nieces and nephews and they're putting on a school play and you're watching and you're just seeing how amazing this all is and how every single child is doing such an amazing job, and to some other person there could be a fault happening in that play, but to you it's glory. It's really the height of glory, this play that's happening. To the innocents who are criticizing from the peanut gallery, they might see fault, but you don't see fault. You see correct action. You cannot be aware of fault or greatness in another were that fault or greatness not present in you. So we want to put the greatness and be appreciative of the greatness. Remove the fault from your own eye. Place the greatness there and watch your world change as it reflects your change in consciousness. Now, those two sentences sounds like he's talking about this eye. And the way, as I just described it as well, the idea is, yes, you won't see it anymore. But that's the eye that you remove fault from. And you only see greatness here, but it's also applying here. How fascinating. I'm going to the eye doctor right after this video. Oh, the irony of it all. In the 16th chapter of Matthew, the disciples were questioned, what do men say the son, who do men say the Son of Man is? They said, some say John the Baptist, others Elijah, and others Jeremiah, or one of the prophets. Then he asked, but who do you say I am? Simon Peter replied, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. At the present time, you may be concerned about what others think of you, but when you have awakened to your true identity, you've come awake, you understand the law, you're applying it, you're objectifying. When you have awakened to your true identity, it will not matter to you what others think. You will know from experience that you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. Flesh and blood will not reveal this to you, but your Father who is in heaven reveals it. Through this knowledge, you will have been given the keys to the kingdom. And whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. Having found the answer to the everlasting question, who am I? No man can ever take this knowledge from you. This wisdom comes from within. And wow. You realize we're taking a couple steps beyond just manifesting something, or manifesting love, or manifesting wealth, or manifesting health. In this chapter, we've shifted the gears. We've put the top down, we're on the Autobahn, and we are testing out the speed and aerodynamic quality of what we've been studying so far. We have put the pedal down, so to say, in this chapter called The Wine of Eternity. If you can't hear it, it's definitely, we are going much faster than usual. This last sentence, having found the answer to the everlasting question, who am I? You found the answer. No man can ever take this knowledge from you. This wisdom comes from within. You realize that anything you've been working on, all these wonderful objectifications and manifestations and these X's and new relationships and the money and the health, you now know what causes those things. You now know what the creator of those things is and who is responsible. This work is not for the squeamish. This is not for the faint of heart. It is a high order of responsibility. And if you're listening to this and if you've gone all the way through this and you're still here, then you're willing to take that responsibility. Whether or not you can even write the word responsibility, it is something you must be present with now. It's being response-able. You're response-able to make this work for yourself. You can do this. You can get this down. You can get whatever you want. It's hard to separate the quality of what you're able to do in the first place as a human. we're kind of unpacking that. But then it's also another level to then be aware that you can do it anytime for anything of any subject. If it wasn't for people in social media doing it and telling you about it, you wouldn't think it's possible, and you and everyone else would have left this a long time ago. I would just be like Neville when he talked about the promise, stating, I'll say it to the walls if I need to. If you didn't sense that it was true that you could do it and you're going to do it because your future self is telling you that you're going to do it, you wouldn't be hanging around this long. And the reason you are is because you know the validity of it. The validity is there, I promise you, 100%. You don't have to worry about it because you will master this. You will. And when I say master, I mean do it on the fly. Do it consciously at will. Manifest whatever you want. You want parking, you want free meals, you want whatever. You want to be in love, you want to be in a happy marriage, you want to be with kids in a new house, and you want to ride in your motorhome or fly on jets, or you want to go taste exotic foods, you want to go to the beach in Nice in the summer. It doesn't make a difference because all of those things are thoughts. All of them are just thoughts. Before they become an objectified reality, they're just thoughts. What do you want to drive? That's just a thought. The wisdom comes from within. Completely abandon yourself to a psychological experience. Just completely abandon yourself. It's like you're on a floaty in your pool. Just get on that floaty and just, okay, I'm just going to go for it. It's going to go out there and close my eyes. Completely abandon yourself to a psychological experience. If you become one with a state in your imagination, you will rise to encompass it in the flesh. This being true, yours is a journey from innocence to imagination to experience. Innocence, not aware, to imagination, what we're talking about, to experience what we just described as far as mastering this new skill that you're becoming aware of. You're going to go from innocence, you're going to go to imagination, then you're going to go to experience. You are already the person you want to be. Claim it, and tomorrow you will display it by being it. Claim it. I am that. I am a master manifester. Anything I set my mind to, I can manifest. Anything I set my mind to, I manifest. Not can, excuse me for that. Scratch that, rewind, play it back. I am a master manifester. I manifest anything I put my mind on. Period. By your fruits you shall be known. If today your life is not what you want it to be, stop blaming anyone. Very important point. Oh my gosh, I can't put a pin in this high enough. This is where we meet the blocks. If you are doing that, we're talking about the blocks. We talked about them recently in this book. If you didn't get that and you've arrived after the party of that conversation, you can go back and find those. They're in the beginning videos. The blocks we have to get rid of. If today your life is not what you want it to be, stop blaming anybody. Remember, the finger's pointing. Just keep working on changing your feeling of I and abide in your desired state. Persist, persist, persist. It's right there. Persist, persist, persist. This is Neville repeating the most important word in this work. And I think if you sum it up, that probably is the most important word here. Persist, 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 for at the moment of non-reaction, circumstances change. We rise by an energy others call effort, for it takes energy to act and react. All through the day, remember your aim by constantly identifying yourself with it. Let your reactions flow into your aim. Ask for deeper and deeper understanding of that which you think you now understand. I trust everyone has an aim to be greater. Everyone, all of us, innocence or not, awake or not, aware or not, innocent or not, all of us want ascension. Do you want a pay raise? Do you want your pay doubled? You want to work half as hard? You want a different career? You want a different job? You want a different spouse? You want a different life? You want your health to be better? Do not limit yourself to any textbook. Stop believing that any one man can write a book that is final regarding truth. Oh my gosh. Amen, brother. Stop believing that any one man can write a book that is final regarding truth. Start to dig. No one can grow without outgrowing. A different attitude is the solution to every problem. A different attitude is the solution to every problem. By your new direction, attitude, in parentheses, by your new direction, you escape that which has been wrapped around you. You just change your attitude, and that which you think is your reality, the wrappings, the bindings fly off of you. Now then, you have like this ripe area to just feel, what is it? Wait, let me move. I can move. By your new direction, you escape that which has been wrapped around you. There is no one to change but self. So start changing yourself today! Exclamation point. Luke was speaking of you when he made this statement. When their eyes were opened, they recognized him, and he vanished from their sight. When their eyes were opened, they recognized him, and he vanished from their sight. When your eye is awakened, letter I, you will find that which you have been searching for, and the belief in a power outside of self will disappear. I must repeat that sentence because you need to hear it again. When your eye, which is what we've been talking about this entire chapter, when your eye is awakened, you will find that which you have been searching for. And the belief in a power outside of self will disappear. In Francis Thompson's poem, The Hound of Heaven, he tells of how I fled him down the nights and down the days. I fled him down the arches of the years. I fled him down the labyrinthian way. I fled him down the labyrinthine ways. You can pronounce it labyrinthian, I guess. Of my own mind, I will repeat. Excuse me. I fled him down the nights and down the days. I fled him down the arches of the years. I fled him down the labyrinthian ways of my own mind. I can vouch for that poem. That's from Francis Thompson's poem, The Hound of Heaven. I used to have on my wall, in my room of meditation, which was my bedroom, I used to lay there and we had acoustic tiles in the ceiling, so I used to look at the dots and they would disappear in my sight, etc. But on the walls I had posters that were available back then in the poster shops. We had stores that had just sold posters. Can you imagine? You walk in and there was just posters for sale? But I bought all the M.C. Escher posters, and if you haven't seen those, they're wonderful. M.C. Escher, E-S-C-H-E-R. His art is amazing. Very labyrinthian images in his artwork. That artwork is what came to mind while reading this poem. But it also came to mind that what time I have spent, supposedly, because there's no such thing as time. But the poem spoke to me because of the fled down the nights and down the days, flee down the arches of the years, fled down the labyrinthian ways of my own mind. I say to you years of experience, but it's only now. I'm only talking to you from now. I'm only sharing the wisdom of us looking at this together in our now. I only happen to be a guide, but you are also my guide. If it wasn't for you right there, then who would I be? Because you're me pushed out. I'm you pushed out. Get your mind wrapped around that one. I fled him down the nights and down the days. I fled him down the arches of the years. I fled him down the labyrinthian ways of my own mind, only to discover at the end that he was my very self. Man's eyes are blind, though hounded constantly by the hound of heaven. He cannot believe in the non-historicity of the Bible, but continues to hold on to his little beliefs, even though he does not know what to do with them. Those little beliefs, those limiting beliefs. People do not seek truth. They seek only People do not seek truth. They seek only supports for their opinions of it. But I say to you, do not think that I have come to bring peace on earth. I have come not to bring peace, but a sword. I have come to set a man against his father and daughter. I have come to set a man against his father, and a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. For a man's foes are those of his own household. Couldn't be more true. And this is not a literal statement. When truth comes, it sets a man at war with himself, for he will discover that he can no longer consent to what he formerly believed in. Oh my goodness. What a chapter. Are you still with me? That was a wonderful, wild chapter. If you're still with me, hang in there. There's a postscript. Start now and listen to the words you want to hear. That's knowing what you want. It's also revision, because you can revise to hear only what you want to hear. You're just Simon and Peter. You're only hearing what you want to hear. No one can grow without outgrowing. Kill the old man. This is the old man. This is the new man. By a new direction internally, you can change the course of your life and free yourself from the prisons of your mind. The human imagination and divine imagination are one and the same. Oh my goodness. What was your favorite part of this chapter? To me, it's the whole chapter. Oh my gosh, there's so many good things in here. I don't even know where to begin if I was to pick anything except for that poem of Francis Thompson. Let's repeat that. The hound of heaven. I fled him down the nights and down the days. I fled him down the arches of the years. I fled him down the labyrinthian ways of my own mind, only to discover at the end that he was my very self. Yes, indeed. All right. I got to say this. That reminds me of, like, I recently brought that up in two movies where the character in the movie woke up at the end of the movie basically and realized that it was about them. One was Angel Heart, 1987, I believe, with Mickey Rourke. And the other one's Fight Club, of all movies, Edward Norton's character. Those qualities in the movie have impact for a reason. The reason you're captivated by that kind of character or that kind of story is because of this kind of thing, where you realize it's you. You realize that story is about you. This story is about you. A lot to digest right there. So let's kick back. Let's close our eyes. Let's do our I am. Let us go into the silence. Some breathing. Let's just digest that whole chapter. Let's I am. All right. I love you. Thank you. Tell both your friends. See you in the next chapter.